Okay, so now we're going to talk about units of measurement. We're definitely getting into science here. So our learning goal for this section is, where's my marker? Is to write the names and abbreviations of the units that are used in measurements of volume, length, mass, temperature, and time. Okay? Some of these are going to be intuitive to you, but some definitely are not. So it may be a little bit of work. All right, so we're going to be doing measurements all the time in science, right? So, for example, we've got the height of this girl here. There's a girl here, right here. Can you see her? And her height is 65 inches, so she looks like she's 5'5". It's 1.7 meters. She weighs 128 pounds, and since we don't know who she is, that's hopefully not too embarrassing. They are walking 1.3 miles, it looks like, okay? You see that? In kilometers, that's 2.1 kilometers. And can you see over here that she's carrying a bag on her back? Wow, that's a seriously heavy bag. 26 pounds. Well, it turns out it's 12 kilograms. Okay? And then the weather outside is 72 degrees Fahrenheit. That's awesome. Nice weather. And that is 22 degrees Celsius. Okay, so those are the kinds of measurements that we're going to be taking here. So we have volume. I actually don't see volume in here at all. See a couple masses. Kilograms, there's kilograms, right? We have masses. Temperature is right here. There's my temperature. Time is not there either. Whoa, no time. But length is there. Yep, length. There's a length. That's how tall she is, and that's how far she's walking. All right. So anyways, we'll be doing more of that here. Let's look at this. Now, scientists use the metric system. It turns out that in most of they use a version of the metric system called International System of Units. Okay. So, and we say SI. I will tell you, I never differentiate between metric and SI. They're not exactly the same thing, but you'll see in the future slides here that they're so close it almost doesn't make any sense to differentiate. So basically, we're using the metric system. All right. So metric system, for example, let me go back to orange here. The volume unit for metric is liter. Can you see that? And for SI, it's a cubic meter. Whoa. For it's cubic meter, right? For SI. The length for the metric is meter. Can you see that? And it's also meter for SI. The mass is a gram. And you can see, sometimes we'll be using grams, sometimes we'll be using kilograms. It doesn't really matter what's the standard unit. I don't think it matters. All right. Temperature is degrees Celsius or kelvins. Okay. And we're going to be using kelvins more than Celsius. All right. And time is just in seconds. All right. So that's an introduction to all the standard units. Let's get a feel now for the actual amounts of these. So volume is the space occupied by a substance. It's the space occupied by a substance. However, in the metric system, volume is based in the liter, which is slightly less than a quart. Okay? So 1 liter is 1,000 milliliters. 1 liter is 1,000 milliliters. 1 liter is about a quart, right? And 1 quart is that many milliliters. So you can see 1 liter is just about a quart, okay? And you can't tell because we're not holding like a quarter up here, someone's hand or whatever, but you maybe have some idea of what that volume is. Okay, by the way, this is a neat graphic to show you the difference between a quart and a liter. Not much, right? A quart there's 4 quarts in a gallon, right? So hopefully that'll give you some sense of what that's about. All right, now the length in the metric and SI system is based on the meter. And a meter stick, you've seen yardsticks before, right? So a meter stick looks a lot like a yardstick. It's a little bit longer. Can you see that? Can you see that a meter stick is a little bit longer? There's the end of the meter stick. There's the end of the yardstick, right? So 1 meter is equal to 39 inches. Can you see that? A little bit longer than a yard, okay? 1 meter is 100 centimeters, okay? And 1 meter it takes about 1.1 yards to make a meter, a little bit longer, Okay? And then 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So these things are always things we can look up when we're working on them later, but I want you to have a feel for them. I don't want you to be afraid of those when we're working with them. Okay? So the SI unit for mass is kilogram. The metric unit for mass is gram. And the mass of an object is a measure of the quantity of material it contains. Okay, no big deal. It's definition. So there's 1,000 grams in a kilogram. 1,000 grams in a kilogram. 1 kilogram is about 2.2 pounds. Okay. And this gives you an idea of how big a gram is. There's a nickel, and it weighs about 5 grams. That's about how big a gram is. A gram, and that might be easy to remember because a nickel's 5 cents, right? So there's 1 gram per cent in a nickel. I'm not sure if that's helpful or not, but all right. So let's look at temperature. Temperature is, now this is going to be challenging for us, right? Because we're used to Fahrenheit. In America, this is where we are. This is where we live. We live in Fahrenheit, right? So right now outside, it's maybe 50 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe 45, and that's what I'm used to. But in Celsius, it's more like, oh, I don't know, 15 maybe? Just guessing. Okay, it's about 15 degrees Celsius. We don't deal with that a whole lot. So the metric system uses Celsius, and the SI system uses kelvins, and we're going to be using kelvins a lot in this class, okay? So the Kelvin scale for temperature begins at the lowest possible, and that's 0. And Kelvin, we'll relate Kelvin and Celsius later. Okay, and finally, time. Time is seconds. I don't think that's going to be uncomfortable for any of you. And, you know, we may use years, we may use days, hours, minutes, seconds, depending on what phenomenon we're looking at. If we're looking at a very fast phenomenon, it may be seconds, it might be milliseconds, right? Or microseconds, or nanoseconds. But if it's longer, we might be using minutes, hours, or days. Okay? So let's just end this conversation with a brief quiz. What are the SI units for each of the following? Pause the video here and write out your answers. Pause the video and write out your answers. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you were compliant and you paused it. What are the SI units for volume? It's cubic meter. What's the SI unit for mass? It's kilogram. SI unit for length is meter. And the SI unit for temperature is kelvins. Okay, I don't think any explanation is warranted there. If that's not easy, feel free to go back and look at this video again, or read your notes, or read the textbook. Either way, these things are ultimately just going to have to be memorized. All right, good luck.